hear this? You are not alone. This is the Resistance.
What's up, everyone? This is the Tin Man with the Resistance. If you're watching this, you are the Resistance. And today, we've got our Q&A. I got a whole mess of questions. First question comes from my buddy Wade. He goes, do you like bubble wrap? Yes. Yes, I do like bubble wrap. In fact, I've got lots of bubble wrap. I love me some bubble wrap. Question number 2 comes from my buddy King Cole. You do know the Illuminati doesn't exist anymore, that they were destroyed a long time ago. Yes, I've heard that, but, who's to say that some other organization didn't take up that name and continue on and even manipulate the original ideology to fit their own purpose? Or maybe even the Illuminati never really died off, and it was just another one of their illusions, and they've been operating strong. And if in the beginning their intentions were pure, maybe, it became corrupted. There's many avenues you could take with that. So, but bottom line, there is a group of sick, twisted fucks behind the New World Order, and regardless of what they want to call themselves, they need to be stopped. Case in point. My next question is in regards to my sanctuary recovery video. This is a comment that a user left. It said, so you went to a couple of rallies, picked up some litter, and want cash? Let me point out something, damn it. I work for a living. I bust my fucking ass. And as far as the sanctuary recovery program goes, I have no problem kicking in my fair share on the matter. I have no problem funding it myself if I could. Money only goes so far. But to execute a program of this magnitude, which is not just my program, I worked with a whole crapload of activists to put this idea together. We all put it together. We all had a hand in it. And the money ain't like I said, the money ain't going into mine or anybody else's pocket. It's going to the program. And to fund a program of that magnitude is going to require a load of brandy capitalize. Hands down. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, if people want to donate to this program, yeah, it's not licensed or anything yet. But, if we get a little bit of donations, I'm more than happy to license it and make it an official program. And, that's why I got legit people backing this. Like my buddy Josh Austin, a reputable announcer. He works over at Muscle Beach in LA. He's very reputable. People like that would not back this program if they didn't either believe in it or know that I'm not trying to scam anybody and that I'm legitimately trying to help people. So if anybody's doubting my honor or credibility in that department, then so be it. But in all honesty, I'm not trying to scam anybody. I'm not trying to get you guys to support me. Like I said, I work for a living. So, I'm just trying to do something good. Yeah, it's not going to be something that's going to change the world and end all our problems. But you know what? It's a step in the right direction. And, at least I'm trying. My next question. What are your thoughts on the royal baby? It's a baby. What are my thoughts on it? Well, I'm actually thinking about making a video about this in the upcoming days, and people are probably going to laugh their asses off just like they did when I made my video about the royal wedding and I wasn't wearing any pants. I'll probably do something equally as goofy because it's just a baby. It's, just because they're from the quote royal family don't mean jack shit to me, especially considering I live in the United States and the British Crown has no jurisdiction, so thus they ain't shit to me. What is your official standpoint on Alex Jones? Well, I've addressed this many times in the past. If Alex Jones flies straight and, he's reporting on legitimate issues, I ain't got a problem. As to whether or not he's a sellout and a shill to the globalist or has been bought off by somebody, that's on him. Me personally, he woke me up, and even if he's a sellout, you know, the information that he has out there in the past has woken people up, and those people who are woken up are researching the facts for themselves, and they're not dumb enough to be misled by some corporate shill. I have faith in the people, and whether Alex Jones is corrupted or not, that's on his head. You know, I respect the man for the stuff he's put out there that woke me up, and that's about the extent of it. Next question. How would you suggest ending the corruption in the government? I could actually make a whole nother video on this sucker. And basically, sum it up, there's many avenues people can take. And I think one of the biggest problems we have right now as to why things haven't ended with the New World Order tyranny is because though a lot of people have woken up and, our numbers are strong, not everybody agrees on the solution. Not everybody agrees on the course of action needed to be taken in order to end the New World Order corruption. And not everybody would agree on what needs to be done after the fact, whether or not to, some people would say that we don't need a government, just go for an anarchist society. Or, some people would suggest reformation of the government, sealing up the cracks so that this doesn't happen again. Maybe a new governmental system. There's numerous ideas thrown out by numerous people on what kind of change needs to happen. I guess what it would come down to is either one, the most popular idea wins out, or we all sit down together and come to a compromise and decide once and for all what needs to be done and do it. Okay, next question. What is my standing on the Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman ordeal? Well, I honestly think that, I personally think it was a distraction. There are so many other murders and cases and whatnot going on out there that never got publicized. Even I saw one of a white kid getting capped by a black guy, but that never got out. I think the only reason that this whole Trayvon Martin thing got out was because the government wanted to play the race card, and people for some stupid reason eat this shit up, and it's a distraction from everything else that's going on. You got the WikiLeaks ordeal going on. There's just numerous things going on, and it's just more distraction and bullshit. Me personally, the only thing relevant I see on the news that should even be relatively reported on is traffic and weather. That's like the only thing of actual reality and relevance. And we all know that the government controls the weather anyway, but that's a whole nother matter. But as far as anything else on the news, it's just distraction, propaganda, bullshit. Okay, next question. Okay, this is interesting. What are my thoughts on the bronies? Honestly, I don't give a shit about bronies. I don't have anything against bronies. I'm not for them. I'm not against them. It's just, in my personal opinion, just another fad. Back when I was a kid, it was Power Rangers and Pokemon, and in my early 20s, anime was the big thing. And now you've got My Little Ponies, which, if I remember correctly, we had My Little Ponies when I was a kid. You know, it's whatever people want to be into, you know. I don't begrudge anybody who wants to watch My Little Pony or is even a brony or a fan or whatever. It's no consequence to me. Hell, I even have a few friends who are into My Little Pony, you know. That's them, but you know, I don't begrudge anybody. It's not my thing, but I won't begrudge you if it's your thing. Okay, next question. You said in your interview that you don't push your religion, yet you have another YouTube page devoted to combating anyone who disagrees with your religion. No, it's not designed to bash or combat anybody who's disagreeing with my religion. My problem in that department is people will sit there and argue. This has been a fight that's been going on for centuries. My religion's right, your religion's wrong. It's the old holy wars bullshit, just on a different scale. And I think it's stupid and it's a waste of time. I believe what I believe. You believe what you believe. If you don't like what I believe or don't agree with it, then don't practice it. But don't begrudge another person for what they believe. That has always been my standpoint. And I will not lie, I've also been working on a book in defense of my faith, not because I'm going to sit here and go, my faith is right and your faith is wrong. Heavens no. My whole thing is, there's a lot of Christian organizations that publish stuff against my religion, and it's seemingly valid points. You know, some are valid points, some are a lot of it propaganda bullshit. And, you know, not a lot of people in my church, the Mormon church, you know, really know how to stand up against that stuff. So, you know, I decided to make that YouTube page, you know, nitpick around. And, you know, I will admit I've gotten into a few debates with people, you know, just get the arguments, get an idea of what's going around with this whole anti-Mormon thing, and, you know, write a book about it. You know, that's pretty much the fundamental purposes of that page, and to be honest with you, I am rarely on it. You know, it's just one of my little side projects. But in no way am I trying to force my beliefs on anybody's, or trying to say my religion's right, your religion's wrong. As far as I'm concerned, practice whatever the hell you want. I won't push mine on you. Don't push yours on me. Just live life, be happy. Do your thing, I'll do my thing. Next question. What is the deal with that YRV guy and his comments on anonymous videos on your channel? Well, I'm not going to get into all that right now because I'm already at 13 minutes on this thing. But I will address that question in another video because it is kind of detailed, and, you know, for future reference, I'm not going to bash the guy or anything. I'm just going to say what the deal is and be done with it. So I'll address that question in another video. Final question. Why have you stopped uploading anonymous videos? Are you no longer supporting anonymous? Really? You're gonna ask that? No, I have not stopped supporting anonymous. Pure and simple, I had some trouble with my tube downloader to where I was not able to download YouTube videos, aside from the fact that I had lost my internet for the better part of a month and am now trying to catch up. But let it be known that more anonymous videos are coming. I've gone through YouTube, downloaded, I can't even count how many anonymous videos, and I'll be uploading them to my channel within the next day or so. So keep an eye out for that, because there's a whole storm of videos coming in that department. And that's all I got. Till next time, if you're watching this, you are the resistance.